I really think that it's just a matter of time before you get an announcement in regards to Jasmy and IBM. And I know that seems like a bold thing to state, but I also want to state that I don't think this is going to happen tomorrow or next week, next month, or even this year. But what is really crucial to understand is how the two have more than enough things in common. Literally, when you look more into it and look more into the underlying technologies of both and what they're both working on. So, in this hypothesis, I'll give you a full breakdown on the connections and how I feel as though, yes, this could be a thing. Because I also want to state this. If you don't think this could be a thing, look into some other projects. Casper is a perfect example of that. Jasmy has a higher market cap than Casper, but we know that IBM is working with Casper for AI governance. The key thing for today's outline is AI. Is there really something there that could connect IBM with, of course, Jasmy? Sticking around to the end of the outline, you'll be glad that you did, even if you are not a Jasmy holder. So let's just get right into the nitty-gritty of this outline. Let's start off with Bijit, and basically speaking, I also like to advise you guys to smash a like. It does trigger the algorithm, so I would appreciate that. But yes, we're going to get into this. This is straight from the Bijit site, and you will see right here that they mention some key things. So for one, right here, talks about, for example, a railway platform application for Japanese client. Now, why is that so crucial to understand? Well, as you can see, bottom right corner of that picture, you will see where it says NDA, non-disclosure agreement. The point I'm trying to get across to all you guys is we've talked about some of these things where it comes to railway platforms, travel, Jasmy's utility being combined with, for example, the DD coin, and how that DD coin will be what is used as a pairing for Jasmy. The two work with each other to contribute towards what? Society and so on, whether it's hopping on a railway or bullet train and so on. But again, understanding that as much as we want to get announcements from all of this, right? A lot of times we don't because of what? NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. So that is what I'm trying to pound home. And then another thing, just in case you think that's just a coincidence, that's posted there in the bottom right corner. Go even to this navigation and entertainment app for tourism. How many times have we talked about like Nip and Travel when it comes to Jasmy and so on? And again, this is from, of course, the Bijit site. But again, like you see, what's it say? NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So, there's reasons why things are shared. It's because of timing and also because there's just a bigger picture that we in retail will never have shared with us. And while that may anger people or upset them and so on, that's just a common thing across the board, not even just with Jasmy, many other projects. So what I want to do now is I want to jump over to some things. So, Bijit talks about deep learning, Jasmy talks about deep learning. What about like IBM and so on, right? So where I'm going with this is having you guys understand the bigger picture. A little bit more from Bijit. Bijit is a software company, like I said, from Bangladesh, but in reality, Bijit is all over different countries, Japan, you name it. We understand Kazumasa Sato and Kunitake Ando's connection with Bijit. They sit on the high council, if you will, the executive council when it comes to Bijit. And of course, they're former Sony executives, just in case you're new. And of course, the Jasmy connection. So what about AI and what about deep learning? Well, as you see on the left side of the screen, I'm going to full screen this. It mentions some of these things. And IoT, embedded engineering, Bijit have many achievements basically in IoT related system development, R&D software. Where are we really going with this? Well, shout out to Neo, because Neo X Tricks posted this not that long ago, and he talks about specifically some of these key things. This is back in March. But the implementation of the Jasmy AI engine for what, guys? Web3 operating system driven by AI, and how it represents a convergence of advanced tech aiming to create a unique and intelligent user experience. Jasmy AI engine, let's face it, guys, connected with Junction, AI times Deepin, as a cornerstone of this initiative. It uses artificial intelligence techniques such as what? Deep learning and natural language processing to understand and respond to user queries contextually. There was another thing that was posted on the Bijit site in regards to a interpretation device. I'm not going to get into the weeds of that, but it's crucial to understand some of those things. Now, jumping over to here, this is actually from Bijit, and they post these fun things every now and then. I want you guys to understand the bigger picture. It says, did you know the world's first smartphone paved the way for our connected lives? Debuted in 1992 as the IBM Simon. From humble beginnings to pocket-sized powerhouses, we know today this groundbreaking device set the stage for the mobile revolution. Bijit, as we speak, is working on something in regards to IoT and a smartphone, and you can look that up from their site. It says the birth of a first ever smartphone in 1992, and it goes more about how it introduced email, touchscreen, calendar to the world. I mean, to think about how that was introduced in 92, that was like the precursor of a smartphone, right? All the way back in 92, a lot of people don't realize it, but it's Japan, right? And IBM doing things back even then. Really crucial to understand some of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and basically retweet this. So the next part I want to get into is now taking you to the whole thing from, basically IBM. And man, they have some things that are posted here that I thought was very important. So for one, posted back in July 27, 2023, scale knowledge management use cases with generative AI. It says businesses looking to deploy generative AI models to knowledge management use cases should do what? Join forces, of course, with a trusted partner. Right. Should IBM join forces, of course, with Jasmy? I think obviously the answer is yes. They should totally do that. Well, look at this. July 5th, 2024. That was only a few days ago. It says putting AI to work in finance. As we know, when it comes to Jasmy, they are doing this whole thing of finance democracy. And that will be a subject that you will see pop up more than enough here coming up in the near future. Says it's going to do this whole thing of generative AI for transformational change, and how basically they're going to navigate through the enterprise-wide world, digitalization, adapting to shifting customer spending habits, responsibilities. There's a lot of complexities, right? But getting more into this, I'm going to jump down a little bit more to give you guys an idea of how this all comes together. And again, this part really caught my eye. It said AI that's ready for business starts with data that's ready for AI. And with Jasmy, we're always putting a focus on 2026, are we not? We're always pointing out, like, what is that goal of that $17+ KPI target? Well, this is 2026, it says here, and it states from IBM that 80% of enterprises will deploy AI APIs or generative AI applications. AI models and the data on which they are trained and fine-tuned can elevate applications from generic to impactful, offering tangible value to customers and businesses. For example, the Masters generative AI-driven golf fan experience uses real-time and historical data to provide insights and commentary and so on and so forth. Well, isn't Jasmy currently doing something like that? Yes. That's why myself and other researchers point out the whole thing. While it might not seem significant to you and me, it's definitely significant because it's a similar model to, like, for example, the Chili's token. And that is basically what? The Seigen Tosu fan token. So there is totally common ground, whether it's golf, whether it's soccer, whether it's some of these other sports, baseball, right? Let's jump into the next part of what we have here in regards to this. So going further down, how do we apply some of this? June 28, 2024. Applying generative AI to revolutionize telco network operations. Again, back to even some of the examples from Bijit. Generative AI shaping the future of telecommunications, network operations. Potential applications for enhancing network operations include predicting the values of key performance indicators, KPIs. Well, people see that term and they're like, oh, that means Jasmy. No, it doesn't work that way. But it is interesting to see how they mention this, like forecasting traffic traffic congestion. How many times have we mentioned IoT in that regard, and Jasmy's role, enabling to move to prescriptive analytics? That's mentioned. I'm going to cite the white paper here in a bit. Providing design advisory services and acting as a network operations center. Okay, what about Transcosmos? So there's so many examples that the two share. Let's take you back to IBM. So basically speaking, I want to jump into this as well. At the very top of this, you will see applying generative AI to revolutionize telco network operations. And I love the terminology. So analytics layer. Jasmy has a form of this that a lot of times people don't really get into the nitty gritty about. But yeah, an analytics layer. Think about how this sounds for a second. Let's just take a moment to get into this. So foundation models have different capabilities and applications for different use cases. The perfect foundation model does not exist because a single model cannot uniformly address identical use cases across different operators. This complexity arises from diverse requirements and unique challenges that each network presents, including variations in network architecture, operational priorities, and data landscapes. The layer hosts a variety of analytics, including traditional AI and machine learning models. Think about Jasmy, think about Junction, think about all the talk that we have mentioned for 2+ years, especially when it comes to machine learning. Even when we talk about Kazumasa Sato, right? So is it truly tailored for the operator? I think the answer is yes, but there's more to it than this. Over at IBM, they have an aim to emphasize the importance of a robust data management, tailored analytics, and advanced automation techniques that collectively enhance network operations. Well, is there any more? Yes, there is. Because back to some of that. It says at a high level, they can split the use cases of network analytics into two categories. Use cases that basically do what? They revolve around understanding the past, current network state, and use cases that predict future network state. Okay, is that it? Well, no. You got to keep in mind they have a hybrid model, and in that model, they combine multiple models such as, different aspects of network analytics and how they can enhance overall performance and reliability, but most importantly, even the human element of things. Do we have automation? Yes, we do. They will integrate generative AI and network simulations for optimal solutions. How so? Back to that analytics layer. And jumping further down into this, it says leveraging these simulations, operators can compare and analyze outcomes that identify the actions that best meet optimization goals. Again, that is right up Jasmy's alley, big time. And that's even referenced in the white paper. It is worth highlighting that simulations often leverage specialized foundation models from the analytics layer, like mass language models. These models, basically allow manipulating parameters and evaluating their impact on specific, mass parameters within the network. The last two things I want to get into, they talk about how predicting KPIs, response to network insights is going to take a lot, but basically speaking, there's going to be challenges. And the challenges are predictive analytics, right? And automation. IBM has hands-on experience. Remember that part. So I'm going to jump over to this, all right? Because when we get into the whole thing, even with Jasmy, in their white paper, from the 2021 white paper, there's been other alterations, but it's going to pound it home. And that is, with Jasmy's platform, you do have the development of telecommunication infrastructure. And it's based on what? 5G tech and the spread of IoT devices. Jasmy definitely understands the need for the fourth industrial revolution. It will be creating new business models predicated on data and analytics. Therefore, they're confident that their data ecosystem will grow at what, guys? A steady pace. Jump into the next part about this for a second. Says they plan, as in Jasmy, an environment where every data producer can select and control service providers, and the purpose of data with disregard, or I should say with regard, to the personal data. Companies that use highly accurate data due to customers' control will be able to develop innovative products, services, as well as in-depth, precise management analysis. Again, everything you just pretty much saw, even cited from IBM. And what is that going to do? It's going to allow them to lead to customer number and revenue increase. You love seeing that. You want to see examples of Jasmy's utility being used, because isn't that the whole point? Seeing more revenue? Absolutely. So I'm going to jump over to this next part. This is now cited from cryptonews.net. Some of you guys have already seen this, and that's okay. But basically, I like this because it gives us an idea about the bigger picture. So some of you guys have already seen this, shared on other platforms, and that's okay. Jasmy and NVIDIA collaboration. Hype sparks as NVIDIA and Japan join forces to develop AI infrastructure. Well, of course, understanding the bigger picture here. Jasmy, Junction, NVIDIA, right? Look at this for a second. Jasmy and Junction, well positioned to accelerate their development thanks to the ambitious initiative by the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. NVIDIA will play a central role in developing the generative AI infrastructure in the country. Right. But is there more in regards to this? Well, of course there is. Let's take you over to this next part. So this time, we're going to give a shout out to Houston. He's a great researcher. Make sure you give him a follow. He deserves your follow. You can be followed at Houston 08068672 on X. And what does he mention? Well, look. This is posted from the Nikkei. Japan and the United States team up on generative AI to modernize research. Japanese and U.S. governments will form a cooperative framework that will make use of generative artificial intelligence to take scientific research, of course, to the next level. Generative AI is beginning to be used in research settings for recording minutes and producing documents. Jeez. Talks more about that machine learning again. How it's experimental, but there's research papers and similar sources in which AI may be able to come up with scientific hypotheses and experimental designs. And going further down, from RIKEN, the Research Institute under the Ministry of Japan started developing generative AI to speed scientific research last fiscal year. In the United States alone, the Department of Energy, Argonne National Laboratory is engaged in the same activity. For the United States foundational model, the goal is to incorporate over 1 trillion parameters. Wow. RIKEN's plans to reach around 100 billion parameters initially for its model, then to expand scale further on. Of course, shows a video, shows the deals that were struck between, for example, Japan's executives and even ours, right? You see the two right there. So, will we see more about this? Well, the answer is yes, and this is a great finding. So, U.S. Japan to call for deeper cooperation in AI, semiconductors, and so on. And of course, a lot of us cited this. But again, doesn't this pound it home even that much more? I think the answer is yes. Let's take you back over to IBM. We're going to do a lot of back and forth with IBM. You'll see here that they state on this article called Authentication versus Authorization, some of these key things. And I want to point this out. I think it was Brian in the past from the Research Consortium of Jasmy. He's also an ambassador. Jasmy, it was mentioned, I think, over 2 years ago. Is it really truly a proof of authority blockchain? I think it really is. But does it pound home more about the whole thing about IBM? I really do think that's the case. Let's jump into this. You will see that they have the whole thing of, again, more that authority, right? Or authorization. So it says, from IBM, authentication and authorization are related but distinct processes in organization's identity and access management (IAM) system. Authentication verifies a user's identity. Authorization gives the user the right level of access to system resources. So to me, this even pounds it home more that Jasmy is truly proof of authority. It says the authentication process relies on credentials such as passwords, fingerprint, scans. Remember how we did all this research, guys, when it comes to all this, talking about, some of the things when it comes to biometrics. How about recently when it comes to the whole thing of, you know, my number cards and so on. So all this matches up. And it says, these scans that users present to prove that they are who they claim to be. Authorization process relies on user permissions that outline what each user can do with particular resource or network. Do we have an example? Well, they talk about a file system that might dictate whether a user can create, read, update, or delete files. Isn't Jasmy, come on guys, think about this. Isn't Jasmy, have the whole thing of IPFS, interplanetary file system? Filecoin also has that model. So all these things follow in suit, in my eyes, about it's just a matter of time. I'm going to show a little bit more about this. This basically take you over to here. They talk about this whole thing of the IAM system. And they talk about prerequisites for authorization. Again, even with Jasmy, some of those prerequisites, right? Data democratization, right? So let's take you back to the white paper. And again, why do we do this? Because sometimes if you're new or been into Jasmy for a while, you need to be reminded of the research. So SKC means Secure Knowledge Communicator, right? The distributed user authentication system that provides personal data loggers to users who have completed the identification and registration procedures and created an ID. Does this completely match with the IBM model? Yes, it does. Data generated from the user's activity of each service will be securely stored in a personal data locker that he or she can control. In addition, guys, when providing information to a company, the user will be able to control and track it, including general accepting or denying. Furthermore, we will solve the inconvenience of digital identity. Think about that inconvenience. So this is why there's so much emphasis about the MINE number cards and so on. But being able to identify identity for users and how they're going to make it convenient. And, look at this, for example. Smart Knowledge Communicator, which is SKC, uses the idea of blockchain distributed storage based on different user demands. It can be based on common frameworks like Hyperledger Fabric, even R3's Corda, look at that, and Substrate in the field of fintech. Now, I'm going to get more into that here in a bit in regards to some of that whole thing with fintech. All right. How about from this guy? Shout out to this guy. His name is Xin Yan Li. He says, Kazumasa Sato's journey from IBM mainframes to blockchain innovation. This is why I want to share all this. You're going to see, even yet, how all these things come together. Because sometimes people want to see some examples. They want to see that some of our executives from Jasmy had any role or any experience whatsoever when it comes to IBM. And guys, I'm with you when it comes to that. That's why I try to bring you guys some of this information. So let's go ahead and full screen this as well. So it says in 1980, guys, look at this for example. Fresh economics graduate Kazumasa Sato from Jasmy joined Sony's Corporation Information Tech section, with hopes of exploring new horizons in one of Japan's iconic tech companies. Little did he know that maintaining IBM mainframes would set the foundation for his remarkable 4-decade-long career. Now let's fast forward today. At 66 years old, Sato-san is not just the CEO of Jasmy, but is the president of his own company. In a recent interview, he basically shared the fascinating evolution of his career, highlighting a common thread that has shaped his professional journey, a deep fascination within the network, or networks. Sato's journey took an unexpected turn when he realized potential for a more secure network. Okay. Did he leverage anything? Yes. He leveraged his experience at Sony, embarked on a mission to create something beyond the ordinary, collaborating with former Sony innovators, including ex-president Kunitake Ando. Sato founded a data security-focused company that explores the potential of blockchain tech. And of course, there's more about this. But again, back to this bottom part. Thus, Sato's professional journey is a captivating tale of information, adaptation, and ongoing innovation. From the realm of IBM mainframes, just in case nobody think he ever had experience with IBM, to the cutting edge of blockchain tech, he exemplifies the resilience and creativity required to stay ahead in the ever-evolving tech landscape. Think about how that sounds. Now, there's a little bit more in regards to this. And shout out to Little Bid Man. He posted this 4 months ago. Did Jasmy and some of these other conglomerates come together? Well, yes. It says that Jasmy, VMware, Slack, IBM, Adobe, SoftBank, NEC, Google, Fujitsu, and Sony participated, guys, in the 2021 Nikkei event to set standards for the digital age. And of course, we know that with Bajit, they are an ISO standard. So let's take you over to the Medium. And in the Medium, you will see this. And again, why is this important? Because the event hosted by the Nikkei Business Press was the largest, guys, market share in Japanese business circles, focusing on the concept of digital transformation. The event covered 24 industries such as cloud, Internet of Things, and of course AI. It also covered traditional industries such as finance. Again, back to the whole thing of finance democracy with Jasmy, with that connection. Manufacturing, logistics, largest exhibition of its kind in Japan. Wow. Let's take you back to another thing. This is again from Level 8, who is an ambassador, if I'm not mistaken. In his interpretation, he talks about Rapidus, IBM, Rapidus. Look at this. We're not going to go too deep into the rabbit hole, but look at this for a second. Digital investment for decarbonization. Rapidus is a Japanese-American company developing next-generation semiconductor manufacturing tech. The company name comes from the word rapid. IBM and Rapidus enter a strategic partnership. On the same day, of course, Elon Musk made an announcement, and I didn't want to get too into the weeds of this, but when I went over to the whole thing of Rapidus, really opened up some things. Check this out. Rapidus and IBM expand collaboration to chiplet packaging technology for what? 2 nanometer generation semiconductors. Now, why is this important? You may be wondering, I don't understand this. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Well, we've been talking a lot about the whole thing of, IBM and also, not just IBM, but Jasmy and semiconductors. And when Jasmy really kind of had his blast off those 2 major times, has something to do with semiconductors and that connection. Well, listen to this. When you go over to NVIDIA, this will open up your eyes because it says TSMC, and there's been research about Jasmy and TSMC in the past, but a synopsis to basically, bring NVIDIA computational lithography platform to production. What does it mention? Well, it states that they are doing this whole thing of intense workload to open up an industry to new generative AI algorithms. Hence why you saw from Hara some of those retweets about Junction, NVIDIA, and so on. I'm telling you, listen to this for a second. It all comes together. All of this simply makes sense, at least in my eyes. So, is there anything more about this? Well, there is. You will see from the CEO that there was a press release that talks about computational lithography, is a cornerstone of chip manufacturing, said Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of NVIDIA. He says, our work on Colitho, in partnership with TSMC and Synopsys, applies accelerated computing and generative AI to open new frontiers for semiconductor scaling. NVIDIA also introduced new generative AI algorithms to enhance Colitho, a library for GPU accelerated computational lithography, dramatically improving the semiconductor manufacturing process over current CPU-based methods. Right. So, is there anything more in regards to this? Well, yes. They talk about the whole thing of, having a new workflow, but more in particular, how they have additional 2x speed up on top of the accelerated process through this thing called Colitho. And I'm not going to get in a deep dive about that, but the application of generative AI, like it says, enables creation of near perfect inverse mask or inverse solution to account for diffraction of light. Final mask is then derived for the traditional and physical rigorous methods. All right, is there a little bit more about this? Yeah. It says that these costs and bottlenecks are alleviated with the accelerated computing of Colitho, provides generative AI enabling fabs to allocate available compute capacity and engineering bandwidth to design more novel solutions in the development of new technologies for 2 nanometer and beyond. As I get more into this, it opens up other things that it's just really like you can't dismiss some of this stuff. So it talks about these partnerships, but more importantly, it talks about how generative AI will allocate available compute capacity of engineering bandwidth to design more novel solutions. Now, I know this is really technical, but guys, when you get to the bottom of this, there's some things that are just kind of really interesting, to say the least, because it kind of opened up the gate to this other particular thing that I think, if anything, we should check out, because boom, here it is Junction. And it says that they're excited to share details of Jasmy's incubated program, Junction. Discover Junction's perspective on the AI-focused blockchain and decentralized GPU market. Now, I went over this, and of course this is from last April, but it opened up some things, because when we go over to the Medium, they kind of give you an idea of how this all came together. And as we know, Junction is at layer 2, because let's face it, Jasmy's not going to get it done with, an ERC20, but, you got to have a layer 2. But a layer 2, an AI layer 2 blockchain solution, basically Junction times DPIN, AI, you name it. But traceable data, think about that for a second. This was all mentioned from the outline for IBM. Traceable data, input, protects personal information, privacy for SMEs and other companies developing products that utilize generative AI. Again, back to everything that you saw in regards to the IBM outline. Furthermore, by providing distributed GPUs, a computing resource that is expected to be exhausted in the future, we will support the development of generative AI products in terms of quality improvement, cost reduction, and seamless deployment, of course, to Web 3. This bottom area, look at this, already developing partnerships with companies, including the provision of databases for development projects of generative AI products, highly value-added gaming platforms, construction of databases for fan communities. Again, back to the example of even what you saw from Bijit with golf, some of the other examples you saw from IBM, and of course what Jasmy's doing when it comes to, like the Sega Tosu. So that's all interesting and all we're sharing. I'm going to jump into this next part real quick, and I want to take you over to here, because we're going to talk a little bit more about these AI models. So GPU computing power, data feeding, data labeling, integrating some of this into their layer 2. But this statement, AI models, distributed GPU, computing power, data quality. Remember how we talked about that from IBM? Data quality. Did we forget about that? Assurance. Prevent current AI public change from providing sufficient support. Give some of those other examples in regards to Ethereum. But look at look at this ecosystem, for example. Look at this, for example. This is pretty interesting. Talks about some of these data sets. All right, let's jump down to this for a second. So they have designed specialized protocols for different types of modalities, data including data labeling standards. Again, back to what you saw earlier, even from Bijit and even IBM. Data quality checks, that would be from IBM. Remember how they mentioned that? So all this, in my eyes, comes full circle, big time. Absolutely. All right, let's take you over to here, because we just talked about data quality, did we not? Well, I'm going to pound this home 100%. So over on IBM, this is from their article about data ops. So data ops is a platform solution. Doesn't Jasmy offer a platform solution as well? Obviously, yes. It says organize your data to be trusted and business ready for your journey to, of course, AI. As we jump farther down, you're going to see some real key things where it really will pound it home. Remember how Jasmy talks about lower data costs? Says offer stakeholders self-service access. This quality will make data easily discovered, selected, provisioned, reducing that dependence on all of it, accelerating analytic outcomes and lowering data cost. How about this? compliance. Look at this. Data compliance and privacy. Excuse me, I went too far down. This quality will make data easily discovered, selected, and basically provisioned. IBM named the leader in 2022 in regards to data quality. Let's jump into this next part. There was this one part that really pounds it home. Remember how we talk about Jasmy and talks about how they're the first to be regulatory compliant in Japan? Well, IBM puts a lot of focus on this, and that's the point I'm trying to get across, and that is compliance. So even from IBM to have secure and compliant data and being able to control automated customizable data quality, masking, and more importantly, guys, you saw it for yourself, tokenization, because everybody's asking, I don't see any mention about tokenization. Well, now you do. And now you see it straight from the horse's mouth. Because like it says, plain as day, data quality, masking, tokenization, and more, so data is protected and compliance is verified at every step of its journey. This is right up Jasmy's alley. Common ground. That's the point I'm trying to make. All right. Before we wrap this up, here's the icing on the cake. What about Jasmy and data democratization? Isn't that one of the main use cases? Yes. What about IBM and data democratization? Yes. So this is from Nordic MSP, data democratization, making data available from IBM. Look at this for a second. They talk about data democratization, making data available, but most importantly, they recognize the buzzwords just like you and I do. They talk about the whole thing of data fabric. What about hyperledger fabric, guys? Come on, look at the terminology here. What about the whole thing of some of the other things that are mentioned here? How do we prepare for data democratization? I don't know. Maybe because Jasmy wrote a whole white paper about it? That's how we prepared. So to see IBM talk about it, I think is big. The key to data democratization, making data available, is metadata, making sure that data is described, tagged, organized. All right? Says this has to be done above beyond what is necessary in the application where data was created in the first place. Its original application, there is typically a lot of context given for free, right? How many times have we been giving away our data for free to, Facebook/Meta, or to Microsoft or Google and all these ones where they just could completely make a killing? A lot of times people don't realize, why did Google become like one of the richest, if not the richest companies in the world? Well, because they generated all of that data freely given to them, And yeah, there was things in fine print, but we didn't realize it. We just want to use the platform. Jasmy is the disruptor of all that. IBM is also the disruptor of all that. Shouldn't they come together? The answer is yes. All right, a little bit more about this. So let's take it down to here, for example. I'm just going to jump to this part. So they go into detail about the need for data democratization, and there's three key things. This is from IBM, okay? So number one, when it comes to data democratization from IBM, they state that it's never as easy as, quote, just get the data out and give it to me. Like that meme you guys have all seen, like shut up and take my money, right? It says, be prepared to put in the effort to make data available. Number two, data needs to be properly tagged and described to be useful outside the application context. Number three, data ownership and data practice needs to be in place and cover the ambitions of data democratization. And yes, data catalog tool is very helpful. So it's all there. And this is cited from Tommy Howland. If you're wondering who the heck is that guy, I don't know who that guy is. Well, for one, he's an author. And he's written, excuse me, this book called Data Democratization, Making Data Available. And he gets all into some of this stuff. So he's part of IBM, and he has a LinkedIn profile. I think that's worth noting. He understands data democratization, how crucial it is. All right. In closing, look at this. Do we have anything in regards to a connection to what you saw earlier from Bijit? Saw earlier from IBM, but more importantly, what you see from the Jasmy and white paper? And the answer basically is yes. Straight from the Jasmy white paper on page 3. The Jasmy IoT platform, a solution plus IoT platform plus module plus app analysis. How it all comes together. How? Because Jasmy aims to realize that data democratization will come together by building a decentralized, democratic world where data is protected as inherently owned by each individual. And the last parts. Its democratic feature is a critical element to pursuing of realizing the data democracy. They have a concept. Unlike the centralized world, we will build an IoT platform suitable for the idea of Jasmy decentralized data. And to go into this last part, pursuing the convenience of data. Again, back to what IBM was talking about earlier. Jasmy believes that data democracy is a society where individuals and companies can provide data to each other without hesitation, stress, not only for their own benefit, but also to improve the common good of society. Or in this case, guys, the common ground that they have with like IBM. They will pursue the security of permanent control over all data around oneself as an individual, such as IDs, application logs, and data from IoT devices. So it's all there. And closing things out, in my opinion, again, all of these things match up. And there's more and more articles, and I didn't want to make this a 2-hour deep dive, but that's what I have. Glad to bring it to you guys. Glad to share it with you and so on. I honestly believe it's just a matter of time. If IBM recognizes other solid projects like Casper, Stellar, there's some other ones, right? Quant, think about it. It just makes sense working together with Jasmy. So that's what I have. Hopefully you enjoy this deep dive in regards to Jasmy. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. Please share the content. Hopefully you all having a blessed Sunday. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.